Welcome to this tutorial on how to paint ocean waves. This lesson is intended to help beginner pastel artists who want to learn how to start painting ocean waves. I have provided a reference photo below in the description area that you may use to follow along with this tutorial. Also, listed below are the pastel brands, colors, and pastel paper used in this lesson. So let's get started. Once the basic outlines of the reference have been drawn on the pastel paper, I begin selecting colors for the underpainting. These colors are of darker values that, once brushed with alcohol, will create a rich tone of colors to build my pastels on. I began with a light blue for the sky area and some dark green and dark blue to the distant pine trees in the background. I used the flat side of my pastel stick to lightly fill an area. These are medium to hard pastel sticks that don't fill the tooth too quickly. I place my horizon line and use a medium dark blue for the background water. Again, I'm pressing very lightly on the flat side as I fill in this area. Next, I will add a very dark blue to the base of the large wave and add some dark green to the area of the wave that starts to crest. Lighter shades of color are used in the crest, and white foam and spray would be added last. I will use this green to draw a line across the top of the wave, but I won't fill in the entire crest of the wave with color at this time. I'll continue adding some of the dark blue beneath the crest of the wave, and once I have the area filled in, I will add a lighter shade of blue to the very foreground of the painting. I am using a light sea green in the crest of the wave because as a wave begins to turn, the lighter shades are at the top of the crest. Now I'm ready to apply the alcohol wash to create the underpainting. I'm using a 90% isopropyl alcohol that you can pick up at your local drugstore. I start brushing with the alcohol over the lightest colors first and then over the darkest areas. The alcohol dries very quickly, so I can add more color without concern that it's too wet. The underpainting is a great way to start off your painting with some contrast and tonal value. The alcohol wash will blend the colors together to form a strong base to add new colors over. I try to envision what is below the water surface from the beginning stages of the painting, knowing that deep water is usually very dark and complex. What happens below the water waves creates the reflective qualities on the surface. The shadows below the wave are usually very dark, and as the crest develops, the top has lighter colors. As I look at my reference photo, I can see that I could use a little bit more green in the top portion of my wave. So I'm going to go back and add a little bit more green to the wave, and I can add some more alcohol wash to blend it in. I will also add a little bit more of the sea green to the crest of the wave, especially at the top layer where the crest begins to curve over into the water. I will continue to shape my wave with the dark green and gradually add some more sea green to complete the underpainting of the wave. Although the sea spray covers most of the surface of the wave, I know that beneath the spray, the wave has a green color that will show through in various parts of the wave. Now that most of the wave has been shaped and defined, I will be able to focus a little bit on the foam created in the wave. I will begin developing a little bit of the foam layer on the crest of the wave using a bluish gray color that will define the darkest areas of the sea foam. I will add some grays and a light gray to help shape the sea foam in the crest, and I will save the lightest whites for last. I'm starting to actually shape the wave, but I'm using a very light gray, so it's not white. I will use white once the final wave has been completed. I'll use the whites for the final highlights. Now that the underpainting is complete, I will start at the top of my painting with some light blue for the sky. I will use my fingers to blend it, and it covers very well and is very smooth. I'm using a slate blue to draw the distant hills in the background. By using the edge of my pastel stick, I can make small marks to indicate trees in the background. I apply more color to the distant trees and gently rub it with my fingers and then brush the very top edges of the hills to create the little peaks at the top indicating trees. There is another tree line of pines near the water, so I'm using the edge of my pastel stick to create pointy marks to indicate the tops of the pine trees using a dark blue pastel stick. I also am using very short broken off pieces of pastel so that the edges are creating short marks and not long marks. I am also using dark green to fill in the forest area in the front. With a little bit of blending, it's starting to look like distant trees. I am switching to a lighter shade of green to indicate sunlight reflecting off the trees. I use the sharp edge of the stick to make short marks that look like trees. Again, I gently blend the colors in the foreground of the forest trees. I continue to add some more light green shapes and marks to the background hillside to also indicate some light shining on the hillside trees. Now that the landscape background is done, we can focus on the seascape. I'm using a blue pastel to build the second layer of color in the background water. I blend the color lightly so to keep some of the texture I've drawn. I will add some dark greens and a dark navy to add some dimension to the water. Again, I will blend very lightly to maintain the texture of the background water. I will be using the sharp edge of my white pastel to add some small waves in the distance. Note that I'm placing the white strokes horizontally above the darker bands of the water. The waves are choppy and full of movement. Now we will develop the large wave, first by defining the top of the wave with some white pastel. Use the flat side of the white pastel stick to pull down strokes of some white pastel in the direction of the falling water. Now we will start developing the breaking wave. We will start with the darkest area of the spillway at the very bottom with some darker blue. The breaking wave will be a darker shade of blue at the bottom of the spill with lighter colors building on top. Whites are added on the top surface to represent the penetration of the sunlight in the water. And the strong winds are creating an ocean spray that we will paint white. Notice that I'm using the flat side of my white pastel to create the ocean spray, and I wipe the bottom of the surface each time I apply a stroke of white. The blue in the water otherwise would smudge with my white pastel, so it's important to clean your stick off each time. I'm adding a little more white to the cresting wave. I'll add just a little bit more spray to this area, and then I will add some more white to define the wave, and also add some more highlights with my white pastel stick. In general, seascapes are easier to paint when light is coming from behind the wave. The face of the wave is in the shadow and the crest is in the sunlight. I am defining the edge of the crest with some dark blue to indicate a shadow that is being casted from the wave. I'm starting to create some of the patterns in the wave that are created from the foam and agitation of the wave. These patterns are pulled up into the wave, so it's important to follow the shape of the turning wave. I start with some of the darker patterns in the water, and then I will gradually add lighter strokes to indicate that they're closer to the surface of the water. I blend them lightly so not to smudge the drawn patterns. I am adding some lighter blue to the surface of the water to help separate the crest of the wave from the ocean surface. I'm going back to add some more shadows to the area beneath the white foam at the top of the wave. I will start adding some patterns of light blue into the wave that will create some more interest. The the agitated water and foam gets pulled up into the wave, making these patterns. I'm adding some dark green to the ocean water to bring in some more color and contrast to the water. Now that we have some good tonal value to the surface of the water, I will start adding some white caps and white foam floating on top of the water. I will continue to add more shapes and highlights to the water to create that choppy effect in the water. From this point to the end of the lesson, I will continue to refer to my reference photo to add highlights and add finishing touches to complete the pastel painting for you. I'm adding some dark blue to help define these small choppy waves on the surface water. I am going back to the distant shoreline to add some small waves and a little bit of color to the shoreline. I'm adding a little bit more spray to the crest of this wave to finish the composition. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I would love to hear your comments to know if you found this tutorial helpful. Also, let me know if you would like to see more videos like this. If you liked the video, please click like and hit the subscribe button. I appreciate your subscription and hope you will join me soon in future lessons.